so far removed from the idea of America and its minarchism written in the United States Constitution, where we have to bring her back to where she belongs. Thank you for listening to this episode of Chasing Life, Liberty, and Minarchy. Defenders of the world, and thank you for being with me this evening. I am your host, Mr. Roderick Threets, and we are here to talk about this thing we call the path to minarchy. Whether take the incrementalism approach or the revolution approach. Over the last couple weeks, last 4 episodes, I would like to say, we have taken some twists and turns when it's come to this. You know, some of the ideas, aka, may sound a little bit controversial, and in other parts, it's been what I would like to say, understandable, right? And some of it just is very, I like to say, foreign to some, because they don't understand the reasons why many people don't want to live with a completely overreaching government, right? This episode 5, is the single path of futility, as I called it. Now, I struggled with this one. I won't lie. I struggled with writing this one, through dictation and all these different things, right? I even went back to one of my favorite authors, Murray Rothbard, especially the one book he wrote, Anatomy of a State, to recenter my ideas around this. Because I thought for a minute I was getting a little bit radical in my ideas. And Lord knows I don't want to radicalize people per se. But I soon quickly reminded that I am pretty radical. Just being a minarchist myself as being radical. Because looking at our current social landscape that we have, people don't want to make moves without the state telling them to. They don't want to make a move unless the government has made a law on the way you move. Right? It's kind of radical to stand out and say, leave me alone. To you, and the government. You all get the finger. Just don't tell me to stick it in places where it don't shine, because that's kind of nasty. But my point being, it's radical now to want to be left alone. I ain't breaking any laws. I ain't breaking any contracts. I'm not harming anybody. Leave me alone. And that's a radical concept. That is a really, 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 really radical concept to a lot of people in the United States, and it's scary. I want to tell everybody that's on that other side of this conversation, freedom is scary. Live with it. If you want to be told what to do, go to another country. But I guarantee you, they tell you to shove it up your ass, and if you don't, they're done with you. Hmm? Wouldn't you rather have the choice to choose what you want to do? Oh yeah, I'm not asking for a friend. I'm asking for on behalf of your family and your children. Wouldn't you want the decision to do it on your own? Hmm? The road to minarchy is not easy, y'all, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, right? Today, we're going to confront, as I said, what I call the libertarian dilemma, right? It's more effective work within a to work within a flawed system, or to abandon it and build something new, right? I believe this choice personally is a false choice because the true path forward requires the two path approach, as you see on the screen, through incrementalism and through revolution, right? Now we have to recognize, right, that focusing on a single strategy is a losing game because the state will do an end around on us, right? This is what I have to get y'all to understand. The single strategy is a losing game, right? We talked about the incrementalists before, right? And the core weakness of the incrementalist strategy is the ratchet effect, right? Which is the concept we discussed in episode 2. Okay, it's the reality that the state grows during a crisis, but rarely shrinks back. Right? We've had these conversations before, right? I had to get some water there, get a little parched. But seriously, right? When the state grows during a crisis, but it rarely shrinks back, aka um, let's use domestic violence or domestic terrorism since it's the hot topic today, right? Remember when Merrick Garland decided to put on a memo, signed off on it, that people that stood up during school board meetings were domestic terrorists? Remember that? Just going to protest your government. You're now a domestic terrorist, right? And my folks on the right side of the paradigm, quite a few of them. So I was like, we're being treated like domestic terrorists. That's not fair, right? It's the label, right? But then you have people today, right, in that same movement saying that Antifa, and I know some of y'all are going to push back on this, but I let me explain it fully, right? Antifa should be denoted as a domestic terrorist organization. Though I do agree with the moniker because it is true, but we have to remember you have to defend liberty even when it's uncomfortable, right? Even when it's uncomfortable, you have to defend liberty. You may not like Antifa, right? And we may agree that they're domestic terrorists, but we cannot allow the government to label them as such because it violates the First Amendment, right? Because I want y'all to think about the broad picture. You have people in Antifa that are not about the violence, right? They're not about the violence. But if you deem the group as a domestic terrorist group, then you make the innocent Joe that is about, truly truly about the movement and not the violence, you're labeling that person a domestic terrorist, right? This is why I got to get people to understand you cannot violate the freedom of association of the First Amendment because you think such, right? Because remember, the government snatched these moms for liberty in particular, and called them a domestic terrorist group because they stood up at school board meetings, right? And we said that was wrong because of their freedom of association to stand up for what they believed in, right? Remember, charging them with the violence is a whole nother bit. But we cannot allow the government to label American citizens as domestic terrorists, because let's flip the script, right? What if we get someone like a Joe Biden in office? Okay. What if we get somebody like Joe Biden in office and he says all MAGA conservatives are domestic terrorists, right? Remember, think about that. A Democrat gets in office, and because the Democrats are already saying that, these MAGA are ultra white nationalists, uber nationalists, right? And they've already tried to put the slip in that white nationalism or white supremacy is domestic terrorism. See what I'm saying? It gives the green light to the government to declare people they don't like as domestic terrorists, hence stepping on their First Amendment right. We can't allow them that control, no matter how much you hate me right now for saying it. But again, we got to stand on the principle. If the government can declare something a domestic terrorist group, throwing out the First Amendment, they can pick any domestic group. It could be the Boys and Girls Club, for example. They could declare it a domestic terrorist group because we gave them that ability, right? And when we give them that ability, they never give it back to us. They retain it because we gave them permission to keep it. Right? That's what we have to understand. So we have to be careful what we're asking for, especially from the federal government. Right? This is why the Minarchy government is going to be the best thing, because they only have two functions. Y'all know it. I hear it say it all the time. Y'all can type it in the chat what the answer is. I'm not going to type it. You type it. I ain't going to tell you. But, right? But also remember, right? Back to the show in particular, right? These incremental victories like tax caps or regulatory rollbacks, right, are often temporary and vulnerable, right? A political win can be erased by one signal seismic event like a pandemic, right? Or a war, Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, Russia, right? A politician can get a bill passed to cut spending only to see a new administration or a new Congress find a way to borrow or spend that money away, right? The incrementalist, right, is always fighting uphill, often against an opponent that is gaining ground even as you take small steps forward, and it can lead to a profound sense of futility. But purely on the revolutionary approach, right? It has its flaws also. It relies on a leap of faith, as we discussed in episode 3. Okay. A pure revolutionary says the system is broken. Let's build a new one. But what if no one comes? The vast majority of people are not willing to abandon the comfort and perceived security of the old system for a new, unproven one, right? A purely true revolutionary approach can quickly devolve into a small, isolated fringe movement with no real world impact. Okay. It can be brilliant in theory, but powerless in practice. Now, the libertarian dilemma then is this: the patient path is often ineffective, and the bold path is often unworkable. Now, I'm gonna pause a minute, get some hydration, because I'm gonna make the case for the two-pronged approach. Before we continue on, make sure you like and subscribing to this, sharing this out. So I know y'all love Minarchy. I know y'all love the government off your back. I appreciate it, greatly appreciate it. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/TOLMF. Patreon.com/TOLMF, or just type in Torture Liberty Media Foundation, and all of our links will come up from the Patreon and everything else. Make sure you subscribe to all the podcasts and shows: Southern Liberty, The Fifth Estate, Chasing Life, Liberty, and Minarchy, and The Fifth Estate. They're all on your own audio feeds on your podcast platforms. Go and grab them, subscribe to them, all that good stuff. I appreciate you. So I'm going to make the case for the two-pronged approach, right? Because this libertarian dilemma we have, the solution to it is to recognize that the two paths are not in opposition, right? But they are in fact symbiotic, right? Let me explain. The path to a minimal state requires the two-pronged approach, a strategy that combines both paths, right? Think about it as a boxing match. All right. Think about it as a boxing match. You can't win with a single punch, right? You need combinations and a series of jabs and a right hook and an tiger uppercut. You know, if y'all play Street Fighter, tiger uppercut, or you see Mike Tyson with that quick little uppercut. That's what I'm talking about, right? So we're taking the two paths, right? Incrementalism is the jab, right? It's a small and consistent little, the practical work of getting laws passed and winning local elections. And then it's about building a proof of concept for liberty, right? When people see that a tax cut leads to prosperity or school choice leads to better education, they become more receptive to the larger vision, right? Revolutionary ideas, on the other hand, is that right hook. You hit that left jab, boom, right hook, right jab, boom, left hook, right? Y'all watch boxing. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? But the revolutionary ideas are the right hook, right? Or the left hook, because it provides the grand, inspiring vision for what's possible. They give the incremental changes their meaning and purpose, right? Because the revolutionary's vision of a society based on voluntary action with decentralized currency and parallel institutions is the moral compass of the entire movement of Minarchy, right? It's what keeps the incrementalists from getting lost in the weeds of political compromise, right? We talked about the technologist path a week or so ago, right? And we talk about technology, right? Is that perfect example, okay, of how these two forces can work together, right? Think about the rise of cryptocurrency, right? It's a revolutionary idea, right? But the fight to get the state to pass law to protect the right to use them is a purely incrementalist battle, right? So a new app that connects parents to private tutors is a revolutionary idea also, right? But the political struggle is to get rid of the occupational licensing requirements for those tutors is an incremental fight. They are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin, right? So let's talk about the practical application before we roll out, because this is going to be a pretty short episode. It's going to be pretty short because this is the meat and potatoes. There's no, can't elaborate on it and give stories, so it's going to be shorter than normal episode. But let me apply the practicality of the two-pronged approach, right? And ask yourselves, as we've gone through this, what would that look like on a day-to-day basis? Okay. It's about being active on both fronts, however you can, right? You can be an incrementalist, okay, by voting in local elections, supporting a candidate who promises to reform zoning laws, right, in your town, or lobbying your state legislator for a small regulatory change. At the same time, flip the coin, right? Flip it. You can be a revolutionary by using cryptocurrency, right? Supporting a decentralized autonomous organization or joining a local community that is building its own parallel institutions, right? And I like Florida as an example, right? Because Here, right in the state of Florida, we have the joy of having private roads. Me personally, I practice part of that revolutionary. The road I live on is a private road. It's a private road, right? We don't have no intervention from the government to come for any reason to come down this road to do anything to the road, mow it, decide the right of ways or anything. I live on a private road, right? Don't have to worry about county government coming down this road. If it needs to be paved, then it's on us on this road to get it paved or whatever maintenance we need to do to the road. But it is our road, right? That's another way to be revolutionary, right? The goal, remember, the goal is not just to change the system, but to make the system less relevant, right? The incremental work of lobbying for tax cuts give people more money to put towards revolutionary ideas, right? The revolutionary work of building parallel institution gives people the alternative to the state that they can choose to adopt. I want you to think about that, right? Quite novel, yes? And to round out the end of this show, very cutting, and then I'll get into some commentary about today. The libertarian dilemma, right, in my opinion, is a false choice. Yes, I just pontificated on it for a few minutes, right? Because we have to bring the two together. But I believe it is a false choice, right? Because the true path to minarchy is not in choosing between one path or the other, but in embracing both paths, right? Again, as I mentioned, the incrementalists will bring the system to a halt while the revolutionary builds a better one in its place, right? The two strategies, when working in harmony, create a very, very powerful force for liberty that is more resilient and more effective than either could be on its own. It's not about changing. Listen, people, it's not about changing the world overnight. It's about a relentless, two-pronged effort to create a future where the individual, not the state, is sovereign. Next week on episode 5, we'll dive deeper into the political side of this strategy and explore what I'm going to call the politician's gambit, right? It's a high stakes gamble that a pro liberty politician can truly legislate freedom from within. I'm going to lay out the blueprint for it because it can happen. It can happen locally, statewide. That's all you need. Federal, it'll make its way up there when it gets up there, right? I want to take a moment, though, guys. I want to take a moment and just reflect a little bit on the week, on the month. It's been a horrible month. We've had a school shooting, seems like every week, or some sort of mass shooting event, right? Eagle Pass, Texas, Grand Blanc, Michigan, Southport, North Carolina, Orem, Utah, Jefferson County, Utah, Racine. Was it Ray? I think it was Racine, Wisconsin. Folks, listen, we got a lot of nut jobs out here. We got some wacky nut jobs out here, people. People want to pull up on their boat and do a sail by own a restaurant in Southport, North Carolina. This idiot in Grand Blanc, Michigan, decides to drive through the front door of an LDS church, set it on fire, and then shoot at people. You got a kid that walked into Evergreen High School in Jefferson County, Colorado, and decided to go shoot at Jewish students. You had a guy pull out a gun in Orem, Utah, to shoot Charlie Kirk. Hmm? You had some idiot down in Eagle Pass, Texas, decided to spray his pew pew too. His gun. I'm sorry, not pew pew, but his gun. I don't know what's going on, but people are off their meds and their rockers. You don't know when terror is going to hit. You don't know how it's going to hit. But I need y'all to be sure that you're ready if it comes to your front doorstep. I want to y'all need to make sure you're ready when it comes to your front doorstep, because you're only going to have a matter of seconds to make a decision when it's presented in front of you, whether you're in a restaurant eating, or you're in a mall, you're in a Walmart, you're in a Winn-Dixie, a Publix, a Kroger. When you're in any bowling alley, right? When you're in any of those places, you need to be ready. You need to be ready no matter how old you are, how young you are. You need to be ready. You need to have it on you at all times. I'm not saying be Superman, because some people will lock up in that type of situation. But I think the fight or flight is going to kick in, and you look, the fight or flight kicks in, that person is good as done. You just have to know when that threshold is. And when you get that, if you don't have one, if you do have one, go dry fire and practice. Times is getting crazy. Time and look, I'm not a person to advocate for stepping on private business, but what I will tell you, is that when they tell you they don't want firearms in their business or their and you know your atmosphere, right? Know your company, right? If you're walking into a grocery store and they're saying we don't want firearms on our campus, remember the first rule of concealed carry is that it's concealed, right? That's the first rule of concealed carry. It should be concealed. How do they know? And if they do any scans or thermal scans on you, that's an invasion of your privacy. I don't think, absolutely not. But that's what I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm not telling you. If it's a store like Walmart or Winn-Dixie or Publix or Bell's or any of these stores you go to in the public, carry your thing with you. I don't care what the policy says, because people are shooting up these places, right? I think people need to live by the mantra. What is it? I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. I know what it is, and I can't think of what it is right now off the top of my head, because Jesus Christ. I'm trying to think of what it is. What is it? It's along the lines of I would rather ask for permission later. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I can't think. My brain is just completely like done here. Oh, I'd rather ask for forgiveness now than permission. I'd rather damn it. I can't think of what it is right now. I'm gonna have to look it up. I got it. My brain is just done. I'm sorry, I can't think. I can't think. Oh, ask for forgiveness instead. Ask for forgiveness instead of permission. Right? Ask. I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission in these situations with these businesses. Right? And that's another one I live by right there. D Ward. Right? No, no. I'd rather be carried by 6 than judged by 12. I'm the opposite actually, because there's no way I'm going to stand down and I have the ability to save lives. I'm not going to stand down. If I survive, I might be judged by 12, but I'd be rather be carried by 6 every single time. Every single time. Though the other way, the inverse is also true too. Some people rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. But if I know I'm in that situation, I already know in my head, I've already put it in my head, I will probably die. But I will die at the defense of others if I'm in a position to. That's straight up. And unfortunately, that's kind of where we are in our society right now. This is where we are. I hate having to walk into a grocery store, right? And when I walk into the grocery store, I literally flip my out of my waist. I mean, it's open carry here now too. I got to get my open carry holster, but I literally unbuckle my holster. Undo my concealed carry holster every store I walk into. I'm dead serious because it's that crazy out here. With that, I don't want to radicalize you guys, so I appreciate you. Make sure everybody pulls up to the Fifth Estate tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. Doesn't look like they've had too much activity in Congress, so it'll probably be a short show also. But with that being said, listen, if you live in the state of Florida, all you gotta do is go to a pawn shop, buy you a firearm. You ain't gotta buy nothing brand new fancy, right? Unless you're a competition shooter, right? Go to a pawn shop, buy you a gun. Get your basic background check done, obviously, because they have to do that, right? Make sure you get no felon, and keep your firearm in the car. Keep your firearm in your house. Do that. You don't have nothing. You don't have to have anything crazy or extravagant or anything like that. But I beg you, please, just. I mean, if you go to the range once every couple of weeks, once a month, it's better than nothing. They have stuff. I'm trying to get a couple manufacturers of dry fire equipment to see if they could donate some, so I could give some away on the shows, so people can dry fire their firearms in their house and stuff, which would be pretty cool to do. So I'm trying to work with that, try to get that negotiated, and because look, we're at time. We're a long time. And it's getting closer, and I want my family to be protected. You know what I mean? I'm talking about my radio and podcast family. I need y'all to be protected and safe at all times on the bullshit. So that being said, love your neighbors, love your family, but ultimately, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anything else. Until next time, peace and love, y'all.